Brian, you ready for our next caller?
I am ready. Let's do this.
Robyn, you are on with Brian and Ethan. How's it going?
Good. How you guys doing?
I am doing well, thank you. Have you had a good day?
Yes, it's been a normal work day, you know.
Oh, that's good. If you could, we had briefly spoke earlier. What did you want to talk about for the audience?
Oh man. Yeah. So you mentioned that you're talking today about UFO experiences, and I've had a few, but the most incredible one was in 2016, and it wasn't just me, it was a bunch of friends of mine that all witnessed this together.
And what was it?
So we were standing at the apartments that are somewhat on the northeast side of Tucson on the third floor, and I hear my friends call me over saying, "Oh my God, Robyn's gonna want to see this." So I run outside, and there are 5 lights that are very bright and large that are hovering over the mountains that are northeast of Tucson. We watched this for 45 minutes, and they would mostly stay in the same place, but there were points where one of them just dimmed out entirely about 40 minutes in and just was gone. Then there was, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So one of the lights moved to be next to one of the other lights. And the movement of it, the speed of it, the way it moved was just crazy. If you were to clock it, it would have been 1,000 miles an hour. I mean, it was infinitely fast. And the coolest thing about it wasn't just how fast it was, but the way that it moved to be next to the other light didn't seem like it was pushed there, like by propulsion. It looked like it slipped into place, like gravity sucked it to be right next to it. And it was wild. There was another point where 3 of the lights came together, and you could see them shining this amber kind of light on the tops of the trees of the mountain, even from where we were standing. Mm-hmm. And these 3 lights circled each other for maybe, 30 seconds or so. And then they kind of broke apart and went back to hovering. And then the final part of the experience, after we watched this for a while, there were some clouds rolling in on the mountains. And 2 of the lights rose up above the clouds. And the only way I can describe what they did, one after the other, within about 2 seconds of each other. So you know how the Star of Bethlehem is represented at Christmas?
Sorry, what was that?
Like with the rays of light coming outside kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it, yeah. The imagery.
So what happened with 2 lights is one after the other in succession, it flashed this crazy white blue Star of Bethlehem looking light and disappeared. And then the experience was over, and it was absolutely wild.
So what do you think it was?
I definitely felt like it was not human, and with all of the meditation that I used to do and all of the research that I still do, I definitely believe that they are different beings for sure.
When was this? What was the date?
Ask.
This was April 20th of 2016. Wait, 15 or 16, one of the 2.
Okay.
Did you look up after this had happened to see if there were any test flights or anything going on in the area?
Yeah, there is an Air Force base here, so that was the first thing that I looked into. But the thing is, when you see something like this, there's nothing human that is similar to this, even remotely. Something that can move at the speed that they did and disappear in a flash of bright white light is not human.
You say it's definitely not human?
Oh yeah, absolutely not human. I mean, and the thing is, it's hard I mean, I can describe some of these things to you, how fast it moved and how it looked like it moved and how they disappeared in that light. But really, until you see it, it doesn't make as much of an impression on you until you see it in real life. And I'm going to go one step farther into this because you know who I am and the
Yes.
spiritual beliefs or whatnot that I have. From what I've read about and researched and watched and whatever and vibed with, felt like was true. That's not science. That's just, what we do as people. They are aware of if other people are aware of them. And there is this crazy feeling that you know that when it's happening. I've actually had 3 UFO experiences. One of them kind of close up and the other 2 were like distance like this. And I still felt every single time. And there's no way to describe it other than like they were aware that we were aware of them. It's hard to explain, but it is what it is.
So why are you so quick to say it's definitely not human? Like how did you rule that? Sorry, can you say that again?
I said, if you had seen it, you would say the same thing. Nothing that we have has similar qualities in, anything known anyways in our military equipment. There is nothing that has the ability to just hover without sound whatsoever in this ball of light. I mean, it's not flashing lights like an airplane. It's not like a searchlight from a helicopter. These things hovered for 45 minutes. And when they moved in a non-propulsionary way. And we don't have any type of vehicles right now that are in the air that move in any ways other than with wings and with propulsion. And they didn't move as if they were being pushed by a force, but more that they were manipulating, like they were manipulating the space around them. Like that's the only way it looked because of the speed at which they moved.
Let me ask you this. Do you think the government ever, any of the governments ever have more technology than they let the public on to know? Like, do you think it's possible that the military has not only secret testing bases, but secret vehicles and technology that we may not be aware of?
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, there's always things that the government isn't going to expose, but I think a lot of that is, in fact, from reverse engineering other crafts that have crashed and, been destroyed. And a lot of people that have had that kind of disclosure, for example, Dr. Stephen Greer would be someone I highly suggest you look into, as well as a movie by him called...
I know that name. I'm trying to remember how I know it, but sorry, continue.
Well, I would definitely just suggest checking out his movie called Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, not to be confused by Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind, the 80s movie, which actually has a little bit of wisdom in that 80s movie, believe it or not. But yeah, he has been disclosed with all sorts of information over the years, and he's making it his purpose to make sure that people are not afraid of it, because that is the issue. And if you want to look further into things other than, someone you don't know, NASA has released footage, multiple videos of footage that is of NASA pilots or of Air Force pilots that have followed these things and caught them on camera, and it is actually becoming disclosed now. So it's actually been happening for the past year or so. That disclosure is starting to happen in the mainstream. I don't know if you've seen those videos, but people are actually easy to dismiss them because of all of the craziness happening in the world today. And I urge people not to dismiss those videos that NASA and the Air Force have released.
So to be clear, while I don't believe in a great many things, I'll say I believe in aliens. Like, to me, it would be crazy to think that out of this gigantic universe that there is not aliens. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I am on your side there. Where I'm on the fence is if they have this great technology, if they're actually able to make it into our solar system, but yet they somehow can't seem to hide from our cameras. That's kind of what gets me. And then additionally, I would feel the best possible explanation would be that these are earthly ships that we just don't know about yet, or that are coming from military bases or other governments. Wouldn't it
I
possibly?
could tell you, I'd love to have an entire conversation about different beings that have been and continue to be here and a part of the human existence. And just to give you a little teaser, the entire reason that we are here right now. And I honestly want to set up a show with you to talk about it. I could go for hours.
What's the reason?
So, you know how there's no link between monkeys and us? We've been trying to find this missing link, just one set of bones that shows that we are connected and therefore evolved from monkeys. The reason we have not found this is if you look back into ancient Sumer and you look back into Egypt, we are deeply connected and actually genetically created by different beings, to include Anubis. Some of these like ancient names are actually names of beings that have been involved in the creation of the human race. And it started with Sumer. They created us at Sumer and helped us learn agriculture and waterways and all sorts of things like that. And that's where civilization began. And that's why we haven't ever found the missing link, because there is no missing link. Our DNA was mixed with DNA from a primate type being as well as other beings in the universe to create us.
Okay, can I'm going to point to Brian on this one. He's the scientist, or the science nerd.
I'm a science nerd anyway. Okay, so the missing link thing, that's more of a like an early 20th century kind of, once we found Lucy, and I think a lot of people are under the impression that Lucy is the only Australopithecine that we found. No, it's a full species. We've got dozens and dozens of specimens, and not just Lucy. We have Homo habilis, Homo erectus, all these animals. There's no more real gaps in the evolution of man at this point. We've got a full progression on that of the anatomical features. I'm not sure if maybe you've been misled about that, but that's not what we see when we look at the fossil record.
So I'll definitely look into that for sure. Still, though, it's really important to look into the ancient cultures and all of the things that they shared back then. It's so easily thrown away. And when you start to put together, so to go back real quick to what Ethan said about, I don't even know if they could make it into our atmosphere. Our planet or our civilization is not old by any means in terms of the time of the universe. And so for a singular planet with some type of intelligent being to be on it, even just 1 million years before we began, of course they would have the ability to do these things. But beyond that, they can and do hide or are not seen within our sight of range all the time for multiple reasons. But this is in regards a lot of time to the dimensions that they exist on, the actual frequencies that they exist on. And it's also in relation to the general view of humanity at this moment and their willingness to accept these truths. Because accepting our connection to and the involvement of other races in our history is destructive to pretty much every religion that exists, and it would bring light to a lot of things in the government that would cause a lot of drama, a lot of issues, a lot of struggle. And so one reason to not show yourself to an advanced place is because you don't want to fuck them up. You want them to be able to reasonably accept what is. And that's one of the reasons that it's not a constant thing, but it's going to be seen much more often in these next several years.
So, sorry, a couple questions, because there was a lot thrown out there. I guess, why don't we have any evidence of like alien DNA or something unidentified in our DNA?
Well, there's all sorts of alien DNA within our DNA. There's so many things that we do not even remotely understand about it. And that's, we can't answer things about DNA yet because we're not evolved enough to understand DNA. We don't know enough about it. It is so detailed. But I think that's also something that's going to be shown over the next several years, is that the reason we're so complicated is because our DNA is spliced with multiple things, you know.
So
it's crazy. You guys are not down the same rabbit hole that I am, so I know that this is way out there. This is why I would love to have a really long conversation about this sometime.
Yeah. I guess jumping back to what I had said earlier, why do you think they would be able to, and, you know, I could be asking the wrong question here, but how would in a civilization with such advanced technology make so many mistakes? Like, they can travel through what, you know, we don't know how many galaxies to get to us. Who knows where they're coming from, but for some odd reason, they can't hide from our cell phone cameras.
What do you mean they can't hide from our cell phone cameras?
Why would we keep, so these UFO objects that you believe are aliens, why would they keep getting caught when they're such an advanced species?
Keep getting caught?
On camera.
Yeah, on camera.
Well, so if you were trying to show yourself to an entire race that thinks that they are alone in the universe, the gentleness that takes is through, I mean, it's plotted and planned so that you have enough individual experiences and you have the larger experiences so that in time, the collective consciousness, the collective people can accept when those larger events happen without fear. Because the last thing that they want is to create fear. Their purpose, most of the beings' purposes, I should say, is to allow humans to evolve to the next level. And so they don't want to create fear, but that is going to happen when you see a bear or something that you don't understand its power or its connection or how to talk with it. So I think it is incredibly complicated and in-depth, and it takes some crazy finesse and also some, you know, there's not all of the races that are a part of our existence are necessarily good. I mean, some of them are disconnected from emotions, and so they don't understand that by somebody seeing them, it causes them fear. So I think there's so many factors in it. It's hard to answer, but that's the best answer I can get for
now. That's a lot to tackle, Robyn. Like a lot.
I actually like to have a convo, and I have so many resources that I can throw out there that you can fact check and look into and make your opinions on. I think it's important to just plant that seed for people who are not even remotely understanding of the possibility. And I mean, for me, the reality of these things. But I highly suggest you watch Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind so you get an idea and some information that you can start on that understanding path. So when we have a conversation, you don't think I'm a psychopath.
Okay, Robyn, we don't need to throw labels around. I never said or insinuated in any way that you're a psychopath.
I know.
Okay.
It's just what other people might be thinking. Because if someone has no inkling whatsoever about this, they will hear what I'm saying and say, that chick is freaking crazy. And I just want to encourage people to look into some of the disclosure that the government is actually already providing. It's pretty freaking incredible. And it's literally the next step for humans to evolve. So it's insanely important, and it's going to hit you in the face whether you want it or not. So I want to encourage people to start now.
Is this one of your psychic predictions that is going to hit me in the face?
I don't think that was one of them, but it could.
I would love to explore the stuff you said about DNA further at some point. We've been going a little over an hour now, so we're probably going to be wrapping up. But that's a big topic to get into, but it does sound like something fun to talk about. So if and when you call back and I'm on the show, I'm really happy to discuss those things with you. Just putting that out there.
Awesome. No, I would love that. Honestly, I know it's a crazy thing to talk about, but it's definitely worth taking the time to review it, even if we're all on totally different, belief systems of it. I would love to have a long convo with both of you. That would be outstanding.
Well, I'll tell you this. There is a larger possibility of you convincing me that aliens are here than there is of God or psychic ability. Because to me, aliens is absolutely plausible. Not only plausible, but highly likely that there is alien life out there. Whether it's intelligent or not, I don't know. I'd like to think so.
Oh, and Robyn, I have a suggestion for you too. Someone that I know in the science community, the very serious into the science community individual, suggested a documentary to me called I think what was it, Phenomenon. Let me see here. I got it right here. Yeah, The Phenomenon. About some of the released records that have been released in the last couple of years from the military. And she said she found it really compelling. So look into that. I'm going to start watching it probably this evening. But that's my recommendation for you there too.
Thank you. Phenomenon. I will look into it. And then another thing to throw out there is conversations about the very basis of what we know as human civilization, looking into Sumer and looking into Egypt. Just one fun fact that I'm going to throw out there. The Sphinx, which we believe was made, I don't know, I think it was like 2,500 years ago or 3,000 years ago, I don't know, was in fact starting to show that it's dating between 10 to 20,000 years ago. The reason being, the section around the Sphinx itself shows all of the signs of thousands of years of water damage. Okay. And there's no water that's been known to be in Egypt for 15,000 years or so. So that is one thing that is tied into all of this, which is the time period that people came here and were influenced. So that's one thing I want to throw out for you to check into too, because that's something you can actually scientifically verify.
I will have to look into that because I'm not familiar with that. Brian, are you?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I am familiar with the claims. The Sphinx water erosion hypothesis is what it is referred to as, and there's lots of research out there on it to keep you occupied for hours. Whether there's any veracity to it, it's a claim that's made, and we'll see what happens with it.
Well, I will definitely take a look at that, Robyn. As always, I appreciate you calling in. And it was nice talking to you again.
Thank you for time to talk about such wild things, and I really look forward to talking about it more. Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one, dude.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you.